We're basically being given the message time and time again with Irish headlines about sexual predators getting less than speeding offences in prison, with the whole Epstein files. So many examples of sexual predators getting away with it, and that can be incredibly triggering. Hi, I'm Eve Menezes-Cunningham, and you're listening to the Feel Better Everyday podcast. You can find out more and access older episodes at the feelbettereverydaypodcast.com, and you can also access loads of free resources and find out more about the book 365 Ways to Feel Better, Self-Care Ideas for Embodied Wellbeing, the column I write for Platinum every month, other titles I contribute to, my work, loads of free resources I've created over the years. I really hope you enjoy this episode. And if you haven't already signed up for my free newsletter, it goes out on a Monday, Mille Buíochas Mondays. Mille Buíochas means 1,000 thank yous in Irish, which I'm very slowly learning. And the idea is it's polyvagal informed journal prompts to help you each week. There's the gratitude practice element, figuring out more of what brings you joy on a daily basis, what helps you feel in that ventral vagal, what I call purr when I use the rescue cats with the polyvagal purrs approach. And I also share some of my own gratitude, some of the things that have helped me feel more in ventral vagal that week. Some of those will be resources that might benefit you. And I also share news about upcoming events, special offers, things like that. But the journal prompts also include encouragement to look at what is creating sympathetic survival responses that hiss with the polyvagal pairs approach, and potentially the dorsal vagal freeze. So it's really helping you learn to map your own nervous system, get to know yourself, and get to support yourself, and it's all free. So if you haven't already, you can sign up at selfcarecoaching.net. And if you have any questions, again, let me know, eve at selfcarecoaching.net. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to episode 99 of the Feel Better Everyday podcast. And I'm wondering how you're doing with everything that's going on in the news. And I know that a lot of people are being triggered. We're basically being given the message time and time again with Irish headlines about sexual predators getting less than speeding offences in prison, with the whole Epstein files. So many examples of sexual predators getting away with it, and that can be incredibly triggering. I mean, there's a sexual predator, self-confessed sexual predator in the White House. He still owes E. Jean Carroll millions and millions, having been found guilty twice, and not to mention all the other horrors being inflicted on so many different kinds of people. But I thought I'd do this episode not to be triggering, but to recognise that life is triggering, and to hopefully help you know, again, with my Feel, Love, Heal framework, the idea is to help you be mindful about your bandwidth on any given day, and recognizing what's going to be the most supportive kind of care on any given day. So the feel element is the regulatory self-care, the working with your nervous system, doing all the things that can help you feel better. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But that's not everything. The love part is the recognition that you, like everyone else, including predators, part of the divine, part of nature, we're all connected. We all share this one beautiful planet. And it's about accepting how painful and how unfair and how horrifying and how awful so much feels and is without getting sucked into it. It's the kind of not arguing with reality, and the also recognizing it's okay to feel joy. It's okay to feel like caught up in the beauty of the beginnings of spring in this hemisphere. It's accepting what is, it's accepting yourself exactly as you are, recognizing again, healing isn't linear. And sometimes you might feel absolutely fine, and other times you might be absolutely floored with despair and like kind of moving into that dorsal vagal, what I call freeze with the polyvagal pairs approach. The heal part is especially important with this kind of trauma, interpersonal trauma, survivors coming together, women coming together, male allies coming together, proving not all men, like actions speak louder than words. Call your friends out. Don't tolerate even the little comments, which then are encouraging worse and worse behaviour. Chapel Rowan was there was something about the singer. She found out that her management company was involved, and her immediate reaction was to fire them. And it's like, be in integrity, work with your community, let yourself be held in community, and make sure that you're a safe person to be holding people in your community. So I realise that this is a very sensitive topic, and it is also a topic that impacts an enormous amount of people, huge amount of people, not just women, but predominantly women and girls. There are way too many male victims and non-binary and trans victims of sexual violence as well. And doing things like moving into the feel part of the framework, doing things that help you feel safe in your body. First of all, making sure you are as safe as you can possibly be now. Do what you can to make yourself as safe as possible. And once you are safe, let yourself feel into that. Let yourself reclaim your body. Let yourself connect back into what feels good, different types of movement, different types of like kind of experiment with massage, experiment with like any kind of pleasurable feelings that help you remember the privilege that we have in terms of being embodied, having these bodies that enable us to experience so much joy in the world, and recognizing that what was done to you should never have been done to you, should never be done to anyone, but you can and will heal. And it's about having patience with yourself and building up a repertoire of things that feel good. So I go on a lot about being underwater, yoga, things like that. But I feel really good when I'm like kind of cycling downhill, feeling the wind in my hair, or doing an underwater handstand, or really swimming my heart out, or singing, or like doing a stretch or balance or pose that's feeling easier, or just works in a really delightful, delicious way, or enjoying a wonderful taste, food, drink, whatever it might be, enjoying the feeling of warmth or a delicious fabric, like especially with sensory differences, with neurodivergence. Get rid of clothes that don't feel good. Make your immediate environment as safe and as comfortable, as enjoyable to be in as possible. So delicious fabrics. I really love bamboo at the moment. I'm kind of really enjoying that. But notice ways in which you can feel better, regulating yourself. And some of the things will take more energy than others, but by building up a repertoire, it will be much easier to dip in and out. And then, like I say, as we move into the love parts, really be patient with yourself. Healing doesn't happen overnight. When I was younger, when I wanted to be dead so much of the time, when I just found life so excruciating so much of the time, I never dreamed that there would be days where, sure, I think about flashbacks and things that I wish I didn't still have to be dealing with, but it's not in the same way as in my 20s when I kind of got bombarded with so many memories and so much pain, and also getting sober, so having to deal with it sober. That was horrendous. And I wish that 20 something me knew how happy 50-year-old me is most of the time. But that doesn't mean that it's all of the time, because with all the cruelty, with all the sadism, with all the oppression of various people, like none of us are free until all of us are free. Anything without intersectionality is just more oppression. So we have to love not just ourselves, but all of, I mean, the Bad Bunny thing about love being stronger than hate, gorgeous, absolutely, 100%. Love yourself when it's hard. Love yourself as a radical act when you've been conditioned by abuse, by oppressive systems, to hate yourself, to see yourself as not worthy, as lacking, as having to buy certain things or act in certain ways in order to be acceptable. Loving yourself exactly as you are, with your wounds, in spite of your wounds, because of your wounds, is a radical act. It's never easy in my experience, but it gets easier. It gets less impossible. And you have those moments where it's like, wow, I never dreamed I'd get this far. So let yourself know healing isn't linear, and it is possible, and you deserve to heal, you deserve to thrive, you deserve safety, and you deserve to flourish, you deserve all good things, and you are part of the divine, and you are part of nature. And I really hope that you will remember that and accept yourself in every moment exactly as you are, rather than feeling like you should be over things, or it wasn't as bad as like some of the horrors you might be hearing about, or it's worse and you don't know anyone else who's been through what you've been through. I've worked with so many survivors, and no one should have to survive. Babies should be protected and loved. Children, teenagers, all humans, we all deserve to be safe, welcome, and loved. And our nervous systems need that in order to thrive. So anything that was done to you, not your fault. You get to heal, you get to love yourself, you get to heal, you get to connect. And moving into that heal part, the collective part, the collective care part, the co-regulation part, it's so important that you find communities that support you, that nourish you, that enable you to be your whole self. Not maybe all of yourself in one community. Hopefully, you'll be lucky enough to find that. But for some people, it might be expressing different parts of yourself in different communities. It's all fine, it's all good. And the more you're looking after yourself, the more you're loving and accepting yourself, the more you're able to hold that space for others in your community as well as being held yourself. We're not loners. We're not supposed to survive alone. If we give in, and if we let ourselves get completely dysregulated, and if we give up, if we go into that dorsal vagal, that freeze response, and just, I spent much of my teens feeling like that. What's the point? I hate being human. Humans suck. Let the cockroaches get on with it. They'd be kinder to the planet and everything else. But we have power as humans. We have power together, and we have power individually. And letting yourself heal, letting yourself imagine a better world, letting yourself dream of the kind of world you want for yourself, if you have children, if you have grandchildren. But for others, like, you don't need to be a parent. I'm not a parent. I still care about everyone on the planet. Think about what it will take for you to heal, for you to love yourself more, and for you to do the things that you know will help you feel better. And let me know, like, what will you do in this really tender, sensitive birth of a newer, more compassionate world, but chaos at the moment? How can you nurture and nourish yourself? How can you reparent that
hurt child, that hurt baby, that hurt teenager, who shouldn't have been hurt, who shouldn't have been abused, who shouldn't have, like, all the things. Let me know, email eve@selfcarecoaching.net if that feels good for you. I read all my emails. Or if it feels appropriate, share in the comments. I don't want you sharing anything and then having a vulnerability hangover, as Brené Brown calls them. But let yourself imagine better for yourself. Remind yourself there are so many survivor stories, and they are the ones that can help us. The more we focus on the horrors and the perpetrators, the worse we feel, the more dysregulated we become, and the more we give in to despair and overwhelm and just awfulness. Let yourself read inspiring stories. Like, I remember, like, for me, when I was beginning to come to terms with my history, Eve Ensler's The Vagina Monologues was really, really helpful. It was the play she'd written, and she started V-Day, a grassroots movement to raise funds for activists around the world to end violence against women and girls. And I remember reading on the website survivor stories, and none of them were quite like my own. I had, like, it was long before social media. I'm talking, like, I got sober 2001. But it helped me enough to know I wanted to go to New York, and I got to New York for a V-Day conference when I first went freelance, 2004, and just being surrounded by so many amazing women, and survivors and therapists and artists and activists from around the world. And, like, it makes me laugh. I joke a lot about my first ever press conference as a freelance journalist was with Sally Field, Jane Fonda, Eve Ensler. Gloria Steinem had to go home early, but I got to tell her her writing had saved my life. Activists from around the world dealing with absolute horrors, but with so much love and compassion. And there's so much power in community. And there are so many amazing people doing so many amazing things. Think of Giselle Pellico and how she put the shame on the perpetrator, on her ex-husband, where it belonged, rather than internalizing it. And I know her case was very extreme and very different to most, but unfortunately, it's not isolated. Think about E. Jean Carroll, who is owed millions and millions. I think it's 81 million, from the White House resident, um, because he has been found guilty more than once, and he boasted about being a sexual predator before he was voted in the first time. It's an insanity creating world to think about world leaders and politicians and judges and so many people who protect and allow, and it seems like encourage, because rape, abuse, it's terrorism, and it's to keep a huge part of the population afraid. And not like, it takes us much longer to do anything productive when we're surviving and trying to heal than if we were all starting from a level playing field. I don't want to be rambling too much. I don't want to be bringing anyone down. I do want to be acknowledging that it's a really painful time for many, many people, and you deserve better. And just be as gentle and tender with yourself as possible. Speak up when possible, for yourself, for others. I believe better times are coming. I really do. And we can create a better world in which everyone feels safe, welcome, and loved, and able to thrive, and in which everyone on the planet, just as you have your dreams and goals, everyone on the planet, wherever we're born, whoever we're born to, all that potential, all that creativity, all that problem solving, the safer we can make the world for everyone, the more we can help everyone flourish. It's in all of our interests. So just sending enormous love from the west of Ireland, wherever you are, and do let me know how you're getting on, either in the comments or emailing. And I hope you'll join me next week for my 100th episode, where I'm delighted to have Dr. Miguel Toribio Mateus back to join me, the neuroscientist, AuDHD, and he has a wonderful new book almost out. So, really excited to read that. And yeah, have a gorgeous week and just sending enormous love.
Thank you for listening to the Feel Better Everyday podcast. This episode, like all of them, was produced by me, your host, Eve Menezes Cunningham. And if you haven't already and would like to, you're subscribing or sharing or leaving a 5-star review or comment, engaging in whatever way feels good for you, feels right for you. It helps me reach as many people with AuDHD and trauma histories as possible. I want to be able to help as many people as possible with this free resource. So please do, if you think of someone, share it, or leave a comment, leave a rating, and of course reach out, get in touch with me direct if you've got any questions, either in the comments or email eve@selfcarecoaching.net. You can also access loads of free resources at the site selfcarecoaching.net, older episodes of the podcast at the feelbettereverydaypodcast.com, and you can book a free telephone consultation. You can find out more about all the other elements of my work, lots of free resources, lots of ways in which we might work together. And most of all, I hope you'll come back next week. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you'll put some of what you've heard into action and go easy on yourself as you heal your trauma and befriend your AuDHD brain. Thanks again for listening.